Francis Ngannou sent out a tweet. He said, Logan Paul just made $25 million in a boxing match. What are we doing wrong? Question mark. Now, that may be a rhetorical statement. I will define rhetorical statement as a question that does not need a response. However, he didn't say it was a rhetorical statement and he sent it out to the world. I kind of feel like he's looking for an answer. So allow me to give the UFC heavyweight champion an answer to this question, okay? Because it's very important that you understand this. Because this is a dialogue that is going on out there. It is not going on amongst intellects. It is not going on amongst sophisticated people, but it is still a fair question, and it still does deserve an answer. Because if you were to juxtapose what is happening with the great fighters, of which Francis would most certainly qualify, versus what is going on in the celebrity era of boxing, was going to be a very short-lived era. I would estimate and guesstimate it's got about a year left. But to answer the champ's question, Logan has, it's not skills, it's not knockouts, it's not wins, it's not the UFC belt. Those are wonderful things, and those are helpful things. He has something better in terms of making money. And this is rare, he has an audience. So if Francis is saying, what are we doing wrong? I assume him to be asking, what is it I could do differently? I'll answer the question. Go get yourself 25 million followers that'll come anywhere you go. You go get 25 million followers, which is what Logan Paul did. You now have $1 on average per follower. There's your 25 million. But you do not have to carry that into MMA. If you don't want to fight against them, it's very rare that somebody that's got this kind of a following and this kind of an audience would choose to market to them in this way. It speaks to the toughness and the rareness that is the Paul brothers, as much as you hate to admit that. But we do see this all the time. And that's where I think when Francis throws up Mr. Surprise look, it does surprise me a little bit. Because it's very obvious, and it happens in the world all the time. You're just now seeing it in combat because the Paul brothers have that within them. We see people that go and have 25 million followers through social media and YouTube and the other kind of channels go into Hollywood. They will go make a movie, and they will be paid 5 times rate of an Academy Award-winning actor who's working on the same picture. Happens all the time. We will see people with 25 million followers, which took them decades to build, a ton of hard work. I mean, they're theirs. They earned them. And they'll go write a song. And they'll come over the airwaves, and they'll beat everybody in the pop charts, beat everybody in all of the charts, even though the people they're beating are much more skilled than them, are even more recognized and award-winning than them. An audience is an extremely powerful thing. And fight promoters will encourage you and have told you, I'm not the first, Francis. They have told you, build your audience. You did not get yourself that blue check mark on Twitter that you have. Your promoter went out and got that for you. We're talking straight to each other. You didn't do that. You didn't go get the blue check mark next to your name on Instagram. Your promoter went and did that for you. Why? Because the promoter knows how important it is that you build your audience. And in all fairness, Francis, you're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing great. You're on top of the bill. You're making a bunch of money. You have huge opportunities. You have not built it to where Paul has. There's your answer. It's not about skill. It's not about who won more. It's not about who sacrificed more. This is a question, the one you're asking directly to what are we doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, you are doing everything right, Francis. But you're not there yet. You don't have the same audience. You don't have the same crowd that is very loyal, surprisingly, by the way. It is surprising how many people are willing to go on this journey with the Paul brothers. They were Disney characters. They were YouTube personalities. They were funny. They were creative. They were goofy. They were all these different things. They were not tough guys that were going to go in the ring. They got their audience to come along. That's something that should be studied. To get your audience to just come with you isn't something that just works. I remember this trying to happen in reverse. We're talking about stars coming over to fighting. I remember fighters trying to go over to stardom. It just didn't work that way. I remember when Roy Jones, who was on top of the world in the 90s, greatest boxer of the 90s, nobody debates that. He tried to go into a rap career. It just didn't work. Shaquille O'Neal tried to go into a rap career. They did not come along. They weren't on board with it. I couldn't tell you why. But I will tell you, it's something that you should study. I'd love for you to get back to me, Francis. Here, I helped you out. I answered your question. I'd love it if you could come answer mine. How did the Paul brothers get this audience that has nothing to do with combat sports to come on the journey with them? Win or lose. Showing up at workouts, showing up at open weigh-ins, showing up in the media, putting the story out, perpetuating this idea. How? It's a fascinating transition. It was handled very carefully by somebody very intelligently. And I don't know. So let's help each other, Francis. I answered your question. And it's not what you're doing wrong, by the way. I'm changing your word from what are we doing wrong to what are we doing different. The difference, so you understand, is the size of the audience. Now you tell me, how did he get that audience to follow him to the ring?